Curious George's Subway Train Adventure. George was up early. Today they were going to the zoo. "We are taking the subway," said the man with the yellow hat. It was George's first subway ride. "The subway is a train that runs under the ground," said the man. "It takes people and little monkeys to places all over the city." George could not wait to see the trains. He ran down the stairs, through the gate, and right into the police officer. "Wait, George, we have to pay first," the man called. "It's okay, monkeys ride for free," said the officer. They walked to the track and waited. George was confused. Where was the train? "Don't worry, George," said the man. "The train should be here soon. Let's go look at the map." "We are here at Endless Park Station. We are going to take the train all the way up to the zoo. Would you like a subway map of your own?" asked the man. George nodded his head yes. "Okay, wait here." While George waited, the train pulled into the station. George was so excited to get on the train, he forgot to wait for his friend. The man saw George on the train, but the doors closed before he could get on. "I'll meet you at the next station," shouted the man. George wasn't worried. He decided to explore the train. "Hello there," said the conductor. "Would you like to help me drive the train? This is how I control the speed. Brakes and doors," she explained. George honked the horn and moved the lever forward. The train started. George got off at the next station. The man's train arrived, but there were too many people for him to exit. "I'll wait for you at the next stop," the man called. Honk, honk. George was curious. He could hear the next train coming, but where was it? He turned around and saw one behind him. He climbed aboard. At the next stop, George realized he was back at Endless Park. How did he get there? Luckily, the police officer was there to help. The track with the up arrow goes uptown to the zoo. The track with the down arrow goes downtown to Fisherman's Wharf. Now George knew to follow the up arrow. When his train stopped at a tunnel, George saw his friend on another train. "George, take the train all the way to the zoo," shouted the man. Finally, he arrived at the zoo stop. The man was there too. George loved riding the subway, but next time he would stay close to his friend. The end. What is your favorite part of the story? My favorite part of the story is where George came back to Endless Park. Today's book is Curious George Builds a Treehouse. George was a good little monkey, but sometimes he broke the house rules. Painting on the walls was against the rules. So was buttering corn with your feet. The animals outside didn't have to worry about house rules. That made it seem like a great place for a monkey. The tree was nice. Until it started raining. George couldn't live in the tree and stay dry unless he had a tree house. Then he could make his own house rules. George went to see how other houses were made. Mrs. Rankins was building a chicken coop. Maybe she could help. George looked at some drawings Mrs. Rankins had. "Those are my plans, George," she explained. Of course, George needed a plan. He drew a picture of his treehouse. Mrs. Rankins liked George's drawing. "If you want to try building, take all the wood you need," he said. On the way home, George passed Mr. Quint fixing the dock. George, he said. That's a lot of wood. You must be building something. Mr. Quint offered George some nails. Take anything you need, neighbor. Admired with his handy monkey tool set, George was ready to build. This would be his house, and he would make all the rules. George chose a piece of wood for the floor of the treehouse. He tried to balance it on his favorite branch, but it didn't stay up. Building was not easy. How could he keep his floor from tipping over? Maybe he needed to balance his floor on 2 branches. Success! Now it was time to put up the walls. George remembered how Mr. Quint used the tools on the dock. It was even faster when you could use your feet. After lots of hard work, there was only one wall left to build. But George was out of nails, and the only piece of wood left was too big. George went back to Mrs. Rakin's farm. She told him he could have any wood he wanted. Then he stopped at the dock for nails. George's treehouse was finally done. Wow, said the man with the yellow hat. You built your own house. Where did you get all the wood and nails? And just then, the neighbors showed up. George, did you take my wall? Asked Mrs. Rankins. Mr. Quint asked, did you take my nails from my dock? George was sorry, but when the neighbors saw his careful plans, they did not want George to lose his treehouse. It's okay. I did say you could have whatever nails you wanted, Mr. Quint said, and I can make a new wall, Mrs. Rankins said. Now George had a place where he made the rules. Rule number 1. You have to paint on the walls. And rule number 2. Always butter corn with your feet. The end. What is your favorite part of the story? My favorite part of the story is where he got to paint on the walls. This book is Curious George at the Aquarium. This is George. He was a good little monkey and always very curious. Today, George and the man with the yellow hat were visiting the aquarium. George, said the man, please wait here while I buy the tickets. George tried to wait, but he was so excited. What was inside? He wanted to look over the walls, but they were too high. Just then he heard a splash and a whoosh. Water flew high into the air. People cheered. What could that be? George was curious. He hopped over the gate into the aquarium. How surprised he was! Swimming right in front of George was 2 beluga whales. The mother and the baby beluga whale swam right past him. And not far away was a family of sea lions, diving and splashing. What fun! George noticed people walking toward a big door. Could there be more to see? He followed the crowd. Now where was he? It was darker inside and there were fish everywhere. George did not know where to look first. In one tank, there were sharp-toothed piranhas. In another tank, there were seahorses. In another tank, there was a large octopus. George saw a group of children across the room. An aquarium staff member was pointing to different sea creatures. This is a starfish. This is a clam. And this is an urchin. Nearby there's a long, low, colorful tank. It was perfect for touching. George was curious. As he reached his hand into the water, a large crab came scuttling from under a rock right toward his finger. Snap! Ouch! Poor George. He didn't like this exhibit. Do not touch. George slipped out a door into the sunlight. But, oh, what was going on here? George saw a fat, funny-looking black and white fish under the water. He watched as they flew. As he watched, they flew up out of the water. What kind of fish does that? And where did they go? George wondered. Where penguins live. George climbed up and into their exhibit. They were not fish at all, but penguins, of course. George hopped like a penguin, flapped his wings like a penguin, and waddled like a penguin. A crowd gathered and laughed, but when he slid on his belly like a penguin, the aquarium staff stopped by to check on the penguins. A monkey in the penguin exhibit? George opened the door to escape, but instead, all the penguins ran out. Penguins, penguins everywhere. The staff was angry at George. How could they catch all the penguins? In all the excitement, nobody noticed the penguin chick falling into the water. No one but George. The baby penguin hadn't learned how to swim yet. As only a monkey can, George scuttled the rope hanging over the beluga tank and swung over to the water and saved the chick. The director of the aquarium and the man with the yellow hat heard the commotion and came running. That monkey helped the baby penguin, said the boy in the crowd. No one else could have saved him, said the girl. The director thanked George for his help and made him an ordinary staff member of the aquarium. George said goodbye to his new penguin friends. He could not wait to come back to the aquarium and visit them again. The end. What was your favorite part of the story? My favorite part of the story is where George saw the octopus.